What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at Goddess's Servant's Banner, which features Shamir, Seteth, Flayn, and Catherine. I'm going to be giving you guys an in-depth analysis on these units and a lot of builds for these units. And at the end I will go over my opinion of which unit you should spark for if you do decide to do 40 summons on this banner. So I hope you guys do enjoy this video, and with that said, let us begin.
Hate me all you want.
Shamir is a very powerful green infantry archer, and Shamir the queen has got 4 super boons, which I think that she's the only unit in the game who has got like 4 super boons. My man Seteth and Nemesis cannot even have 1 super boon, and she's got 4 of them, even in the unnecessary stats. So she's just incredibly powerful. This is just a fun thing I do. In my first impressions, I try to speculate stats, and then in the banner review, I try to compare how close I was. For Shamir, I was definitely pretty on point with 40 attack and 40 speed. She does end up having 1 point more resistance and less defense, but overall, Shamir was probably the most accurate one out of this banner for me when it came to my speculation. So Shamir has got insane 40-40 offensive stat spread, which is just incredible. And she also has super boon in that, so she could basically have 44 base attack or 44 base speed. And that just allows her to be incredibly powerful player phase unit. Her weapon is Survivalist Bow, which gives her -1 special cooldown, which is really powerful because stuff like Moonbow can become a 1-turn special, and if you run Deadeye and Time Pulse from Shannon, then that becomes a 1-turn special as well for her, and that is extremely deadly. This weapon also gives her +6 attack and speed during the combat if she's not adjacent to an ally, and if the foe's HP is above 80%, then she gets basically the Fire Sweep effect. So it's a conditional Fire Sweep weapon that has got attack speed solo built into it basically, and also has -1 special cooldown. Extremely stacked weapon on such a powerful unit. She's mainly a player phase unit, just an incredible nuke, and attack speed solo 4 and null follow up is just really good with her. Null follow up is really nice for piercing through stuff like Weary Fighter or just effects which prevent follow up attacks of your units, so that can be really good against someone like Brave Hector, who recently got a weapon refine. So Shamir has got the weapon strangle advantage on him. She can also have the Fire Sweep effect, so Hector cannot bonfire her, and she can also just double him regardless of his weapon refine. And because of her high speed, she's a really good user of null follow up. As for her comparisons, there are other archers with pseudo Fire Sweep effects, and here are all of them. So Shamir is obviously the most powerful one out of all of them because of her offensive stat spread and the fact that she could get even more attack and speed from her weapon. Eleonora does have a Fire Sweep weapon, but it requires a speed check, so she needs to have more speed than the foe to get that Fire Sweep effect. Meanwhile, Shamir checks the HP of the foe. Shamir cannot really check a lot of the Vantage units because they will be in the Vantage range, but someone like Eleonora could do that as long as she can outspeed. And her Mirage Longbow doesn't really give her any kind of extra stats that Shamir gets. Clarisse's Sniper Bow does give her more attack and speed, but still she is a really old unit, so she's obviously not going to be as strong as these premium archers, but still Clarisse is a really fantastic free-to-play option if you want to try this kind of Fire Sweep effect. And Clarisse's bow basically requires a support ally within 2 spaces, which is usually going to be a dancer, and she can also apply splash damage. But the problem with Clarisse's Sniper Bow is that you cannot really use it in stuff like Aether8's defense because supports are not active when the AI is controlling the units. Shamir provides with excellent fodder utility as well, because if you fodder some other unit who has got attack speed solo 3, then you could inherit attack speed solo 4 and null follow up at the same time from her, which can be really nice. As for Shamir's build, her budget build is going to be really nice because she already comes with premium skills, so you just can add Sparrow Sacred Seal and have drawback, and Moonbow is a 1-turn special as it is, or you could utilize something like Flashing Blade and have Draconic Aura as a stronger special. And the third build is also an option if you do sacrifice an Agreen to Shamir, because even though this might seem anti-synergetic with her weapon's condition, which requires foes to be above 80% health, the AoE damage is going to be so much that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day because Shamir just hits very hard. And this is not even like plus than Shamir, this is just a +1 Shamir with plus attack IV, which is going to be a super boon. And this can just clean up abyssal maps honestly with like 3 dancers. She is going to be extremely powerful and can pretty much be a green in a sense because of the -1 special cooldown from her weapon. And you want to run Life and Death because AoE specials do calculate damage out of the visible attack stat. And then if you want to use her in Aether8's defense, then that could be done too. But the thing is that you want to make sure that Shamir is solo so that she can activate her weapons effect. So for that reason, you could use her as a rally trap, basically have her teleport with something like guidance on a dancer, on a flying dancer, or use ground orders and teleport as a rally trap, then getting danced by a dancer, and she could go away from her teammates and just attack. And she can be a really good unit to check tanking strategies for your team and also take care of Brave Hector, of course, which is pretty common honestly in higher tiers. The problem is that she is not going to be able to check Vantage units, so that could be troublesome, but just have another Hardy Bearing unit on your team. And if you want to invest more into her, and if you're using her on a mixed team, then the Deadeye build is for you. It's extremely deadly. It's going to be able to pierce through a lot of the Brave Ice, which dare challenge your team. And this can be really strong with that ARD attack speed if you want to go for that kind of investment. And in general, Deadeye and Time Pulse from Shinon is something which Shamir appreciates a lot for her premium builds. And if you've got a +10 Shamir because you're a very dedicated fan, then you could run a build like this. Of course, as I said, Time Pulse Deadeye is the combination which you want to go for. And Sparrow 3 could help you because she could still function even if she's close to an ally, so that could add a bit more flexibility and she's not completely, dependent on her solo skills. And at +10 merge with this kind of build, you could opt for plus attack IV. Speed Super Boon can help you future-proof your Shamir against the speed creep that happens in the game all the time.
How delightful to be somewhere so lively!
Flayn, in my opinion, is the star of this banner because of how extremely unique she is, and she is a flying healer and we don't really have too many of those. As for my speculation, I did expect her to have high attack, which she does end up having. She's got 39 attack stat instead of 40, and she does have, middling speed at 27, which I was pretty close by, and I was on point with her resistance. So she comes with Caduceus Staff, which is a 14 might staff that has got Wrathful Staff built into it. And this is extremely unique weapon because this has got drive damage reduction basically. So allies within 2 spaces can reduce the damage from foes' attack during the combat by 30%. And that is really crazy because what that allows you to do is just free up the slot B skill of a lot of your infantry units that you're running with close calls, burn, or stuff like that, and allows them to run stuff like Lull Skill, Special Spiral, or Null Follow-Up. And she can also provide damage reduction to units who never had access to it. I'm talking about mages, flying units, cavalry units, armored units. All of those units can get this damage reduction from Flayn, which is just extremely good and so unique, and we don't really have any kind of unit who could provide this kind of support. So in my opinion, Flayn is definitely one of the best support units present in the game in the ranks of Brave Lucina and Male Corrin. All 3 of these support units are pretty unique and depends on what you want to have. If you want Drive Breath, then you go for Brave Lucina, and if you want this raw stats, then you go with Male Corrin, and he can also soak chills for your units. Flayn cannot really do that. She cannot really soak chills like Male Corrin or provide the extra stats but Brave Lucina has. So she does have a fair bit of competition when it comes to support, but still she provides pretty unique support. And depending on your team composition and the type of units you want to use, she might be providing some really amazing and unique support to your team, which no other unit can. And I feel like this is a good time to have a PSA about damage reduction stacking, because a lot of people are going to be stacking damage reduction skills with Flayn if they do pull her. So here we have an example of Dimitri with his Blue Lion's Rule, which gives him 40% damage reduction, and then Flayn gives 30% damage reduction. Now, a pretty common misconception is that damage reduction is additive. It is not going to be giving you 70% damage reduction. Instead, it is going to be calculating the damage reduced by the formula which I have here, and it is going to be giving you 58% damage reduction with this example, say if you're using Flayn with a Brave Dimitri. So damage reduction stacking in FEH is multiplicative, it's not additive. So just keep that in mind if you do decide to use her with other units who already have damage reduction skills. Flayn also comes with Rescue Plus, which is a new assist skill for healers. So it's basically a healing drawback, and this kind of skill is extremely unique because healers didn't have any kind of positional skills before. So not only it heals up, but it also is able to provide that positional utility. And you could also use Rescue Plus on a unit who is at full HP, so it will act as drawback. So it's pretty much like a drawback first, and that's why you're not going to be gaining any kind of experience or SP if you use this. So if you want to train up your Flayn up to level 40, then probably have some other assist skill that can provide you with that kind of experience. This assist skill is not going to be increasing your special cooldown, so you would have to just attack with Flayn if you want to have your special charged up. And honestly, Flayn can definitely pick off some kills with that high attack stat because she's the healer with the highest attack stat in the game. Sure, she does not have that kind of speed, but that kind of attack stat is really good to pick off some weakened units. Flayn is a unit who can easily be built up on budget. You just have to give her attack res push 3 from Brady and she's good to go. She already has a pretty nice slot B and slot C skill, and you could have any kind of support Sacred Seal to go with it. You could also have Live to Serve if you want to keep her healthy, so that could be done too. And Attack Tactic can also be done in slot C, and with Deluge Bomb, it can just buff up 3 stats if you do decide to use that. For example, Ashnard or someone like that who wants to be a flying tank. So Flayn is pretty flexible with the kind of support she could provide, and it's up to your team composition which slot C and Sacred Seal you want to use on her. Now if you want to use her with more investment, then you could definitely go with Attack Res Push 4 and also Joint Drive Attack. So this allows her to hit definitely pretty hard, and she can definitely take some magical hits because of her high resistance, and aerobatics can definitely provide you with the mobility. You could definitely use her in Ether Raid's offense. Now as I said, Brave Lucina and Male Corrin are the staple support units that a lot of people have access to, and I would argue that they are easier to get compared to Flayn. But Flayn can be sparked as well, so she could be a support option as well, depending on which kind of main unit you use on your team. For Ether Raids, mainly you could run HP plus 5 so that she could hit above the threshold of 55 HP so that she could not be stopped by those kinds of tactics room that are only active until 55 HP, so that could be done. And the support, Slot C and Sacred Seal is really team dependent. And you could also use her in Ether Raid's defense actually as a ground orders bot and also as a damage reduction bot basically. So she could provide the damage reduction to your frontline unit and also provide ground orders support to your team so they could have hard to predict movement. And Flayn can definitely be pretty useful there, and she can also be a soft check to Vantage strategies basically because of Dazzling Staff effect, and Flayn can definitely hit decently hard. So she can double down as a Vantage check and also act as a support unit with ground orders and also the damage reduction. Flyers can actually have access to range skills, and if you're a big fan of Flayn, then those skills are definitely the premium options for her. You could go with Attack Res Push 4 and Attack Res Rain from Plumeria and basically have that on her, and she can hit really hard and be a pretty nice mage tank basically. Sacred Seal is pretty much flexible just to give any kind of attack stat. If you want to use a speedy Flayn, then she definitely needs to be like max investment. And she can definitely hit like 50 plus speed effectively with this kind of build with attack speed push 4 and attack speed rain.
Judgment is passed.
Seteth is definitely the underrated part of this banner. While the spotlight is on Flayn, Seteth is also a really strong unit, and even though he's just a 4-star demote, he's a really nice option that we have got in the normal summoning pool now for a Lance Flyer. I was definitely pretty worried that Seteth, because of being a male Lance Flyer, might get the same treatment as Heath, Cormac, and all of those Lance Flyers, but he actually comes with Spear of Astel, which is a preferred weapon. It's actually really good, and his stat spread is also pretty nice. I did expect him to have this kind of stat spread, honestly, but he has got even better speed, which is really good. And he's not really as min-maxed as I thought he was, with high defense and low resistance, which actually might be a better thing, honestly, because Seteth is the kind of unit who's extremely versatile and can be used in so many ways to support in player phase, in enemy phase, as a mixed phase unit. There's just so much you could do with Seteth, honestly, as you will see with the builds, and I'm just really happy that he's such a great unit in this game. So Spear of Astel gives him plus 3 speed, which is really good with his base 36 speed, and if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, it basically gives him Joint Drive Attack and Joint Drive Speed, and he can also neutralize foes' visible buffs to their attack and speed, which is extremely good because Flyers don't have access to lull skills, and this is basically that for him. So not only he can support and also get more attack and speed from this weapon, but he can also just ignore the attack and speed buffs of the foes, which is really good with his kind of offenses. So Seteth is not only a very potent unit himself, but he can also support his allies and make them stronger, which is just cherry on top of how versatile he is. He doesn't really have any kind of super bane or super boon, but in my opinion, if you want to invest into him, then speed is definitely the boon that you should pick because it just helps him with all of his builds, in my opinion. And just to give you an idea, so here is Resplendent Cordelia with Fate Pass. She's got 37 offensive stat spread, and it's just one stat more than Seteth. But Seteth has got a weapon that is more consistent, even though it cannot really have the brave effect like Cordelia's Lance, and he also has better defense, and he can function in the enemy phase as well. At max investment, as you could see, you know, Seteth can definitely be a pretty powerful unit as well compared to this kind of Cordelia, and she does have access to more Dragon Flowers. Cordelia does have the advantage of having access to quad attacks, but Spear of Acil can just open up so many options for your team, and as I said, he can also function in the enemy phase, not just as a player phase unit. And this is really funny, I thought about this. He can be a better Camilla than Camilla herself for some reason. So Camilla's axe is a pretty much the same weapon as Spear of Acil with Joint Drive Attack and Speed, but it's only going to be active if she's near a horse or a flying unit, and that kind of condition doesn't exist for Seteth. He can support any kind of unit no matter their move type, and he can also get more stats with this weapon regardless of that. And not only that, he basically can ignore the buffs of the foes to their attack and speed. So this is just a better Camilla's axe in my opinion, even though both of them are in different colors and different weapon types. Still, it just goes to show how good Seteth can be. Seteth is a 4-star focus unit on this banner, so it means that it's easier to plus and merge him, and after this banner ends, he is going to be in the permanent summoning pool as a demote. So if you want to go for a plus 10 Seteth, then this is definitely the fastest and easiest way, because on average you're going to be needing 400 orbs to get a plus 10 Seteth, as you could see by this graph. But if you don't have orbs right now, then over the time you could collect copies of Seteth, but it might be a bit tougher than this banner, so if you're a big Seteth fan, then this is definitely the best opportunity for you to plus and merge him right away. For his builds, Seteth can work really well on budget as well, and these are just the basic budget builds that you see on most of these units with a player phase. So you could run Brace and Attack Speed, that his default skill is, with Desperation, or you could run Fury, or you could run Swiss Sparrow. So all of those options are available, and he can even be used as an enemy phase speedy tank basically with Steady Posture and Speed Defense Link from Norn. So that could be done as well, and he can definitely be a pretty speedy unit even at +1 merge with plus speed IV. And because of his weapons condition, he could definitely utilize something like Flyer Formation and use a Bond skill, and basically provide double good flyers to his flying allies, combining with his Spear of Acil. So that's another support option. Or you could just go with entire attack support and just have double drive attack on him. For flyer support, you could also run ward flyers on him because he basically provides good flyers from Spear of Acil. And now we move on to some of the premium builds that a lot of the people could use if they want to plus and merge Seteth. In my opinion, this encounter also works for him because of how versatile he is, and he could definitely run attack speed rain from Claude, and this could definitely help him a lot with his tanking and also outspeeding a lot of the units. And being such a fast unit with guard bearing is definitely really amazing, and flyers don't really have too many slot B options if they're really fast, so guard bearing is definitely one of the best ones. And you could also run a Gale Force build on him with Heavy Blade and attack speed push 4. So this is just a player phase build, and speed defense rain from Jill can also be used along with attack speed push 4. Unity skills are also an option. You could run attack speed Unity whenever it gets released, but attack defense Unity from Dimitri also works. And as I said, flyers don't really have too many options, especially if they are fast. Flyers don't really have too many slot B options, so Mystic Boost is a pretty decent one to give him self-sufficiency and just constant healing. And again, attack speed rain can help him both defensively and offensively. And then you could run Dive Bomb and Heavy Blade 4 from a Pirate to Barn and basically mimic Swiss Strike's combat art that he has in 3 houses with Quick and Pulse. So this allows you to just Gale Force even off of a ranged unit, and this is definitely a pretty nice Gale Force build. Seteth can reach 175 BST after the first merge, so he can definitely be used in Arena as a score stick as well. And there, I think that you could definitely use something like a distant counter guard bearing build. And because you're going to be using a low scoring Sacred Seal like Iod Shield, you want to make that up with Joint Drive Attack and Slot C. And as it is, Joint Drive Attack, in my opinion, is such a good skill for him because he already has that in his weapon. So he could just increase his own stats and also of his allies. So Joint Drive skills are really amazing on Seteth on premium investment. You could also use him in Ether Raid's offense as a Gale Force unit with that Heavy Blade 4 and also having Quick and Pelt, so that allows him to have a 4-turn Gale Force. And Wings of Mercy definitely has pretty good synergy with his weapon, and he could also enable more triggering of Heavy Blade and Flashing Blade on a Gale Force team because of Spear of Acil's support. So that just goes to help him even more, and because he can nullify the attack boost of the foes, that also helps him. if you want to use him in Ether Raid's defense, then he can be really annoying with Steady Impact. Steady Impact allows him to be so fast and also have a lot of bulk. So on Ether Raid's defense, if you are using 2 mythics, then you basically need to get 2 kills. And for that, Seteth can definitely provide the extra offensive stats to your nukes. In Ether Raid's offense, he could also be used as a support bot and someone who can soak shields, because he can have pretty good stat spread at +10 merge if you run Fury 4. And Spear of Acel can be combined with Ward Flyers, Gourd Flyers, or just any kind of support skills. He's no male Corrin, but he's still a pretty nice support option.
Where do I start?
The final unit of this banner is Catherine, and she's a sword infantry unit with 176 BST. She ends up having like 1 more point of attack and speed from my speculation. She has the same resistance, but she definitely has not as much defense as I expected her to have. So she is a sword infantry unit, and we have got a lot of those, and she's still one of the top tier sword infantry units in my opinion because of her stat spread, power, and Thunderbrand. And Thunderbrand as a weapon is definitely pretty nice for making her a strong player phase unit, because it gives her +3 speed, and at start of combat if the foe is above half health, then she gets +5 attack and speed during combat. It also has half of null follow-up built into it, so she can go through stuff like Sword Breaker, Weary Fighter, and all of those effects, and she can double through that and make a follow-up attack before the foe can counter-attack. So it's pretty much like Desperation, but it doesn't really have an HP threshold on Catherine, but instead on her foe's HP, and if they're above half health. So this allows Catherine to be a really powerful player phase unit, and she can definitely function as a guild force unit as well. And her main competition is, I guess, basically gonna be Fallen Marita. And in my opinion, Catherine is like the modern version of Fallen Marita. But still, Fallen Marita does have -1 special cooldown out of Shadow Sword, so that actually makes gale forcing much easier. With Catherine, you need Time Pulse or Quicken Pulse, or you want to run Flashing Blade on her slot A. But with someone like Fallen Marita, you don't really have to do that. And that's the thing with Catherine, basically. She can be a Gale Force unit, but there are other sword units who can do Gale Force much easily without requiring those things which Catherine requires. For example, we have got the normal Marita, who has got full null follow-up built into her weapon, and also gets -1 special cooldown, so that helps her a lot with Gale Forcing. And same goes for Brave Celica, who recently got a weapon refine. So there are units who can Gale Force definitely easily because of the -1 special cooldown of their weapon. I wish Thunderbrand had that over the extra speed, and that would have allowed Catherine to be even better at that, but unfortunately it doesn't. The thing with Catherine is that a lot of the top tier sword infantry units in this game are mixed phase, but Catherine here is mainly gonna be player phase, so it does affect her versatility in a way, and this weapon doesn't really give her any kind of extra defenses. Sure, the half part of null follow-up can help her go through stuff like impact skills, but at the end of the day, because it is not a full null follow-up in her weapon, she's still going to be getting auto-doubled by stuff like Bullfighter or units like Duo Ephraim all day long, compared to someone like Marita, who has got full null follow-up and she's not going to be getting doubled by those auto follow-ups. Someone like Fallen Knight can function in both phases, and his weapon is also really incredible, where he doesn't really care about penalties and instead gets powered up by them. So even though Catherine is just so powerful with that offensive stat spread and Thunderbrand, she still has some insane competition to take care of, and that just goes to show you how competitive sword infantry class is in this game. As for fodder, you could get Swiss Sparrow 3 and Loud Speed defense at the same time if you fodder off a 5-star Nacella for the base Swiss Sparrow, so that is really good for fodder potential. Catherine comes with pretty good skills, so even on budget you could just run something like Glimmer. Moonbow could also be run, but you are reducing the defense of the enemy with Loud Speed defense, so Glimmer could also work, and she does hit pretty hard, so that could be done with Flashing Blade. Because of the desperation that she has got in Thunderbrand, she can just trigger Glimmer on the second hit with Flashing Blade, and you could also run this kind of second build with Flashing Blade. Even on budget, you could run this with Flashing Blade 3 obviously, but if you want to have premium investment and the true damage out of it. So Loud Speed defense is really good, and you could just have Cook and Pulse to make Gale Force a 4-turn special, and she can be a pretty nice Gale Force unit with this. Time Pulse is also a really good option for her. Time Pulse allows Catherine to have a 4-turn Gale Force while also having Swiss Sparrow 3 and Flashing Blade in the Sacred Seal slot. And it's definitely a pretty good option with Catherine if you want to have a bit more premium investment. You could also run Special Spiral on her slot B because the Desperation effect out of Thunderbrand just frees up her slot B, so that is really amazing. And basically once you have set up your Special Spiral, then she's going to be triggering Draconic Aura on the second hit. If you're a big Catherine fan, then you could definitely use her as a mixed phase unit. As I said, the half part of null follow-up could help you in getting past stuff like impact skills. It is not going to be giving you any kind of extra defensive stats, and that's where you run a damage reduction skill in slot B and combine it with distant counter and more speed boosting Sacred Seal. So she could have insane amounts of speed, honestly, and that can help her get the max damage reduction, which is going to be really nice. As I said, with a lot of these speedy units, I do like to have plus speed IV to future-proof them with speed creep that always happens in FEH. So that's definitely an option, and it does work out pretty well with a damage reduction skill. Overall, this banner is definitely pretty nice with some unique stuff. Flayn is really amazing, and so is Shamir. And Seteth, even though he's a demote, he's a really good lance flyer, as I showed before. So if you do reach 40 summons, and if you're deciding which unit you should take as your spark unit, then in my opinion, Flayn is a pretty good option because of how unique she is, and even as just a one-off copy, she does work out because she's a support unit at the end of the day. Shamir is also an option if you want to have a really powerful offensive archer, but there are a lot of offensive archers that you might have, but if you don't really have any of them, then Shamir is definitely a really powerful option. So those two will be my recommendations for sparking, and it depends on your barracks and what kind of unit you want for a playstyle. If you have a more offensive playstyle, then a nuke like Shamir is going to be helping. If you use a lot of tanks, then a support unit like Flayn with that damage reduction is going to be helping you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please be sure to share this video with your friends who are excited about this banner and want to build one of these units. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment, helps you tremendously, and also subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the number of Ash and Wolf students in FEH. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.